So the creature has dissolved into goo. You have this glowing crystal in your hand. What are you doing?
Uh, I swallow it whole. No.
You want to
Just
have
kidding.
another. You want to have another thing inside you.
How many supernatural parasites can I pick up?
Exactly.
It's like Pokemon.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think
Collect
he's
the whole
holding
stack.
it. Like, I think we have something. Um, do we want to stick around and see if there's anything else to gather here?
I thought we were running away because we were going back to the army. I mean, I'm. It's obviously not going to be able to eat us now, but there might be more of these.
Well, there
Fair.
certainly is more.
Yep.
Are
Well,
we
do we
then
know that?
There's
preparing
one in
this
the
group?
distance forming, right? I assumed it's just forming slowly.
Yeah, you see
Okay.
another sort of bubbling up from the goo of a ash-covered pond.
Yeah. So
So we'll hop on another one, and let's. I think then this is enough to go of what we found.
Sure. I think Hawthorne will walk over and take the spear back from Titus after giving it to you. And I imagine you dispatched the large creature probably too quickly for it to fully devour your mount. So Hawthorne will put it out of its misery
That's
Oh, I didn't even think about. Yeah,
and
fair.
then
That's
continue onward.
mm,
so. Where are you going? What are you doing?
we're going back to connect with
At, with the caravan.
the caravan.
yep.
So,
Okay. That's cool. So you get out of, so you move out of the region of this obelisk.
Well,
Uh,
those things definitely don't breathe fire, I think.
Not as far as you can tell. That's another weakness that Titus discovered is that they don't breathe
They
fire.
don't breathe fire.
Well,
Okay.
I'm just saying they're not what destroyed this camp.
Oh yeah. Well, an explosion did, I think.
Yeah, no, there seemed to be a. So it appears that there was a giant central blast from the region of the pieces of the obelisk.
Hmm.
How low is the pyramid? Or are the tents in that area as we're walking away, were they built up along the pyramid, like on a slope or?
So there's this kind of pyramidal structure, a bunch of big stones blasted down, and then around in front there was a. It looks like originally there was a big open plaza uh,
Mm,
in front of this pyramid of stone, and that's where the encampment was set up.
okay, but the origin looks like from the pyramid side, like outward.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay,
In terms of where the blast went toward.
sure. Okay, well, easy. Nora Lamb's an idiot and doesn't know how to harness power. Everything's
Apparently
in the
not.
clear.
Or he did, and already too late.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Nope.
cool. Yeah, I think as we're going back to the rest of the group, though, Titus will bring up. Do we want to share with everyone the crystal and all that, or are we keeping that to ourselves for now?
Yes, it's for the defense of the expedition. This is why we came out here. We
Fair.
needed to figure out a way to redestroy that obelisk.
Significant amounts of force tend to do that.
Yes, more significant than
If
yours.
Ithacus is talking to you
Oh
and,
yes. Hold on.
and
Mm.
kind of quietly saying, well, it might be possible to restore the obelisk and think of the power that could be obtained that
Mm. Titus can be not lost.
Um. Actually, Titus has already been having these thoughts as well, just not voicing them out loud.
way. I am unsurprised.
Yeah.
as we all are unsurprised.
um. this might be a nice place to set down a stake and start a new home.
Or are you saying that out loud?
No, but he's saying it into his head to Ithacus.
Mhm.
With we would have to take care of probably certain competition for that.
I agree, but that seems doable. And Norlam seems to have made some sort of attempt that clearly is not 100% successful.
No, but I'm curious. What he attempted and how did it fail?
It would be very good to know exactly what his plan was.
Agreed.
So that we know how to improve upon it.
So then it might be worth sharing this information with our allies.
If they'd be
willing. And figure out.
They would potentially be willing to go along. I'm concerned about Hawthorne.
Hawthorne will follow the expedition. If we share it with the Duchess and Hedge, I believe both of them are power greedy enough to try and replicate Norlem's experiments themselves.
It's possible they could be convinced.
And if I play Mika and the Duchess properly off each other, I'm sure one or the other will end up on my side.
I'm so glad you don't say that out loud. I'm really glad you don't say that out loud.
I have always wanted a throne.
Yeah, well, you know, your playbook is literally called Conqueror. I mean,
just finding the right place to start, you know?
I mean, what could be better than this?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well start, really, really high.
And roll downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Heck frickin' yeah.
Yeah. And, maybe you've conquered a few worlds in the past just as a little.
Like one does.
Yeah, like you do, just as a little practice.
Practice, gotta stay sharp.
Right. But now, now's the big time.
Yeah. So we'll go back to Kyneth.
Okay. All right. So the expedition has been moving in your direction. So it is closer than they were when you left them. They are traveling along the road. I'll say that maybe you're a day's travel away from them. I'm not going to call for a roll at this point. So you do a fairly steady journey back. So Mika is riding, kind of double with more folks. All right, it seems like their creatures are big enough that that's manageable. Yeah. So that's not going to hold you back or be a particular problem. And yep.
I think I'll ask Ravi to stay behind and make sure that that the encampment doesn't have anybody else come back for it, or like there are no remainder forces that are like still scavenging around.
Yeah, she can do that. Now, in terms of her edges and flaws, I just wanted to clarify. Now that you're using her independently, her edges are independent, which seems perfectly appropriate to this mission, and unreliable. And I know we had a little bit of discussion, but I forgot to write down exactly what the context of unreliable was. Could you clarify for me how you see that?
It was the concept of she has a penchant for nature or like the wonder of the world, and
Mhm.
she is not a bloodline character, so she maybe can't
No.
go everywhere anytime. So like,
Mhm.
she sometimes gets wrapped up in just like the observation of like wondrous things, or like wanders away to like
Okay.
go investigate something that seems incredible to her.
All right. I could see how that could play out in an interesting way here. Uh, but yeah, she readily agrees to stay behind and keep an eye on the obelisk and do some scouting in this region to look for, potential enemies or remains of the expedition, etc. Cool. Uh, let's say it's about a day later. You meet up with the caravan, which is traveling along the road. Um, I'm going to make a fortune roll to
Oh
see
no.
Who's dead?
how things have been going between Ketch's faction and your troops. We'll say that a high number, everything has been copacetic, a low number, and it has not gone well, and there has been strife. Okay. Um, and I don't know a trait to roll, so I'm going to make just a regular one die roll.
You could roll the scope, like the magnitude of the two forces kind of like adds to whether or not there is.
Yeah, because there's
Well,
more opportunity. Well,
but rolling more dice means it's better off, so that's not
Yeah.
necessarily true.
yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah. I think I'm just going to roll one die to see how they've been getting along. Okay, and it's a 2.
We come back, the tents are all on fire. It is an active battle.
So they have not been getting along at all well. We rolled a poor result on
That
that.
is clearly Ketch's fault.
Well, I'm sure that there is a version of the story that clearly supports that interpretation. Um, so you come back, and I want to say that there's just an open fight going, an open confrontation going on. There are more of your troops, um, century, 3rd century Gallica. They are quality 1 and scope 2. Scope 2 is about 100. Ketch's troops are quality 2 and scope 1, so they have a smaller number, but they are very good troops, and they are bolstered by having Ketch, who is a very competent commander. Um, so I'm going to roll. So I'm going to roll for them with their quality fortune roll to see how effective they're being, and I'm going to have somebody roll for the quality of your troops to see how effective they are being. Each of those rolls is with 2 dice, and we'll see who rolls better.
Shall
So-
I, or do you want to?
Let me make the fortune roll for them first,
Okay.
and then we'll have your troops roll their 2
Watch him
dice.
get double 6s. Oh no.
They
Okay.
roll 4.
Shall I?
Yes, please.
Double 6s. A 5.
5. So the same result. So it's inconclusive. So as you get back, there is you're coming over a rise and looking down the roadway that's kind of winding through all of this blasted, ash-covered terrain. You're all kind of covered in ash. All of you, except Mika, has been dealing with bug bites and other nasty stuff. So you're and Titus, you are exhausted and super tired. I know you have a special ability,
Yes.
which says that resilient, which says that when you become exhausted, you can do one of these things once. You can resist or push or assist. So you are not without capacity, even though you're out of stress. You have one last trick you can pull in there. But you're definitely feeling the exhaustion of this whole
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Uh,
He's Act 3 of the action movie, you know, like
yeah, yeah,
looking beat up and all that.
yeah. You're also looking very beat up, but you're
I want
all
to do a flashback.
and kind of dragging. Okay. Well, let me describe the scene, and then if that's okay, and then you go right into the flashback. So there is an open confrontation going on. You hear yelling and shouting. You see several wounded people. It looks like um, Kyneth has, has kind of separated herself away from these idiots who are fighting, and you see your troops in a confrontation. And it's not. So there are some fights that look like everybody's in a melee fighting full force, and there are other kind of things where it's more like gangs of people kind of threatening each other and doing stuff intermittently. So they haven't quite worked themselves up to full, just full melee, but you see some hurt people there. So some fighting has already happened, and plenty of yelling is occurring. So that's the scene that we encounter. Mika, you wanted to do a flashback?
Yeah. So I want to flashback to 80 years ago
Yeah.
when Titus and I were on. We traveled to this world that was very rocky and icy, and there was. We were doing some trading with these creatures, and we talked to them and all of that. And a battle came out, but he got damaged enough that he got down to the condition he's in now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day something happened, and I had to basically call him out by his titles, or pick a few of his titles, order him to get the hell out of my way and go deal with it, and it worked. So we have an understanding that maybe Titus will listen to it, maybe he won't, that if I evoke some of his titles, like, get out of my way, let me do this.
Okay.
And so what Mika's doing is calling out a few of your titles and saying off, shoving you off the mount and racing the mount into there, calling out to the troops to back off.
Okay, interesting.
Do you have a preference on which titles you use? I can give you a
Remind
list.
me of your titles, because you have some
Of course. So we have Titus Maximus Damocles, first of his name, the last Centurion, Blade of the Umbra, the Unfallen, Heir to Hell, the Butcher of the Imperium, Shadow Touch to the Cornan Monastery, Flame against the Everfrost, Anathema to the Old Gods, the Blackguard of Koth, Savior of Thrak, the Immortal Warrior.
Okay, I put like 3 of those together, and it comes out as one big messy title.
And I think you also have a good conduct medal from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple
He
AAMs.
also got Blackboard Monitor at one point, but he doesn't include that one anymore. So I have like 3 of them, like Spawn of Hell, like pick any 3, put them together in one,
Mm-hmm.
Essentially bark, 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 off. And so I take my hands, push you off the mount.
Yeah, he'll slide off and land.
Of course,
superhero pose.
which is what I mean, because you're giant and I'm not. But that way, I'm riding in with orders to the troops to back down.
Okay, cool. And that, so we can treat that as essentially a role-playing flashback, if you're both okay with it.
Yeah.
No stress cost for that or anything. But we can. But I like the flashback. Is very cool. And you're charging ahead, and so you are going to try to get people to back down.
And I'm trying to separate this and get my people over basically to me. It's like troops to me. Stop it. Back up.
All right, and so you have the Smooth Talker special ability, which among other things gives you +1 die to social interactions involving negotiation with hostiles. I would certainly call this a hostile situation, that fits right there. So you get +1 die.
Yep.
Um,
I'm
so
gonna
what?
lean into persuade, and I'm gonna push for an
Okay.
extra die.
All right. So that would give you 3 dice. I
Mm-hmm.
would call that risky,
Yep.
standard,
Yeah.
right?
That
And
that
standard
works.
means that your troops will back off, and their troops are gonna let that happen.
Okay. So an engagement roll 3. Yes.
I don't. We're not doing an engagement roll.
Oh.
We're just making a roll with persuade with 3 dice.
Okay.
Risky.
All right. So then I will change what I'm looking for, and I will just go to die.
So action roll, risky
Okay.
standard, 3 dice.
That's what I was looking for. Was action not engaged? Sorry.
Yes.
Um,
And you roll 6.
yes.
Hey.
You roll a 6 with your eyes closed.
Well, I also crossed my fingers. So.
Yeah. Well, that's what did it. So you roll a 6. You've got a full success, no consequences. So narrate for us exactly what you do, and how it plays out.
So she pushes. She starts riding in and yelling to them, but because she's got Spike in her head, she's got more volume and more power than she normally does. And she's
Right.
actually a pretty, I mean,
Uh-huh.
she's of the blood, so she can be heard. But
Yep.
there's an edge to it that
Mhm.
gets both groups' attention because it's the what? And then when she's saying back up, her group realizes, this is a strategic necessary, and they start backing. And the other side is mostly doing the what? What is going on? So they're disjointed enough
Mhm.
that they don't push forward.
Mhm.
So they stay where they are, and my troops come back to me. I slide off the mount, and I get right between the two groups, and I start haranguing them in, what do you think? What is going on here? Somebody tell me right now. And she stamps her little tiny foot and has her fists and is all pink and just all tiny
Okay.
and blonde and angry.
All right. Do either of the two of you do anything as this is happening, or do you just watch?
Titus, I think, does reach for a weapon and is striding forward slowly, but he's letting her deal with it, and he's kind of doing the she will handle this, but if this doesn't work, I will just start killing indiscriminately again, and we'll just see how long that takes to fix the problem.
Hawthorne?
Is Ketch anywhere to be seen? Is he amongst?
Yeah, Ketch is there. It looks like he was sort of letting his troops come forward. In fact, he steps forward and starts telling you about a couple of different provocations that occurred on the part of your troops, and obviously his troops are outnumbered, right? So there are a lot more of yours than his, um, and insists that 2 of his men were injured, and that's what started it. He had given orders that his troops would stand down if possible, and they had been doing that, but it was impossible to stay away from these savages that you have left behind uncontrolled. And he insists that they not be left without command control, because they are unruly, unreliable troops.
She
And
interrupts him.
your troops are yelling,
Yeah, she
and
cuts him off.
that's not true, and that's not how it went.
Yep. So she cuts him off and says, "Your graciousness is overwhelming." Turns around, puts her hands up, goes, "Tense, clean up, now, go." And then turns back to Ketch. Now I'm going to lean in really, really heavily on the tangential convenience on this one.
Okay.
Because what she does is she goes, I understand that this has been very difficult. I'm curious about this. And she reaches into the little belt pouch and pulls out something she picked up that is a little piece of the mosaic, but it was a box that had basically mosaic tile cover that still survived.
Mm-hmm.
And she remembers that for whatever reason, Ketch is really into this kind of crap.
Okay.
Like she remembers him mentioning something about in his travels, and so she pulls it out and says, "Is this something that this needs a home? Is this something that you would be interested in having?"
So you're trying to sort of get him distracted?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want him distracted long enough for all of my guys to go get cleaned up,
All
get
right.
in bed, and then we will talk. And obviously, Ketch's men were at fault. I mean, duh. But you know,
So your
so
troops back off grumbling. You've established
mhm.
that. What are you trying to achieve with Catch?
I just want him to stop making the situation worse, so that I can go pull everybody together, find out what happened, and we can make plans about how we're going to deal with these idiots.
Okay.
So just kind of
Um,
smoothing things over a little bit
Yeah.
to
Move things
troop
over. Okay.
status.
Yeah,
So
because right
he'll.
now he's doing the your troops are barbarians, and I'm like, just shut up, dude. Stop
All
talking.
right. So, uh, are you? Yeah.
I'm not trying to do anything other than just
Mhm.
like kind of
Yeah. I,
disconnect him a little bit.
yep. Actually, the role you made earlier might have been more like command, but we'll say that it was persuade, and now you're definitely trying to persuade Catch. Um, so let's see how successful you are in getting him, settled down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, sounds like you want to use persuade,
Yep.
and the result and the goal you have is to just have them back off for now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Um, all right. So make another roll. I'm going to call that also risky standard.
So with smooth talker, I get. So this is 2 die, yeah.
Yeah, it's still a hostile situation, so we'll call that
All
two
right.
die.
I'm just gonna roll it straight
Okay.
and see if closing my eyes and crossing my fingers.
You roll 5.
Okay.
Hey,
Right.
not too bad.
All right.
He's going to back down, but there is a consequence. Um, and I'm going to say that the consequence is that Ketch is plotting revenge.
Well, yeah, he was always going to do
Well,
that.
no, that there's a specific plan for how he's going to back down for now, but he's this is part of his plan.
I'm not going to resist that. I think that makes sense.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so your troops are grumbling, but they are off to the side and settling down. Uh, and you are back with the encampment. Um, we can jump ahead a little ways and say that Kyneth is interested in what you found. And also insistent that uh, it's just not viable for your troops and Ketch's troops to be in the same uh, caravan together, especially without any of you to keep them under good control.
Do you trust Ketch's troops here without us?
I have my own force, and he has not threatened us thus far. My major concern is how your troops and his troops get along.
He has betrayed the Legion once before, so I would be wary of him.
I'll take that under advisement, unless you're
And
trying to actively persuade her to do something different.
I think right now Titus is just planting the seed.
Okay.
He'll punctuate that with, setting down the crystal eye on whatever kind of, like, I guess there's like a work table or something like that.
Or you can say that she's got a tent that's been pitched that can be used for conferences, and there's a central table there.
I assume the
And
crystal's
this
still shimmering,
is-
right?
I'm sorry?
I said I assume the crystal is still shimmering.
Yeah, it's got a shimmery glow, kind of rainbow glow that kind of shimmers back and forth across it in different lights. Interesting. And do you tell her the story? Is there anything you hold back?
Hawthorne will tell everybody.
I'll say, yeah, I think they don't necessarily. The fact that, yeah, Titus will happily share what he knows and what he thinks. It appears that someone was attempting to rebuild the obelisk, and they had some measure of success.
And does Titus say that he believes it's Norlon?
I don't think. I don't think there's a point to holding that back.
Okay, that's fine. All right. And so she's going to ask you what you know of this being.
Let's see. Now this is where I'm gonna try and figure out how much Titus knows of Norlem and how much I know of Norlem.
Norlem is a righteous god.
You've established a few things about him and your relationship to him.
The first world that he met Norlem in, he raised a insurrection rebellion against the old gods, and Norlem responded by eating the sun and casting the world into an eternal winter.
Seems an overreaction.
He's the last surviving member of a pantheon who Titus has hunted for several years, or however long.
Several lifetimes.
Several lifetimes, probably, actually. He has remained elusive and incredibly powerful. The gods do not die like men do.
Do you have a sense of how he could have gotten into or past the barrier?
And he kind of, she has the key on her, right? It was like a pendant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of gestures that, and the power, there are powers beyond what the bloodlines know.
I think that's clear to all of us.
I imagine he potentially found a way either past the lock, or that's not the only key. There's been whispers of a previous expedition.
Well,
I don't know if you've heard these rumors or
clearly from what you found, there's been some kind of incursion here.
before then. I'm sorry. Actually, Mika never shared that she found, like recent.
No.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how he's going to phrase this. I've heard rumors before then that there was a previous expedition that had disappeared.
So, what do you advise?
Well, that largely depends on our goal here. If you wanted, we now know what is going on. If you wanted, you could return back to Agros, explain the situation, and let someone else seize this opportunity to take care of this with greater forces. Now, were I dealing with your Agorian politics, this might be a matter for us to solve ourselves. Norlem is trying to harness this power. If we can take care of Norlem, then we now have solved the problem, and more so, discovered a new source of power in the Umbra.
I believe that a short while before you returned, I felt through the key a disturbance, which I would interpret as
There's a disturbance in the force.
which I would interpret as someone has opened another gap in the barrier.
Do we think that was someone arriving or someone leaving?
I do not know, but I could feel that the barrier was disrupted for a period of time.
Well, then, we need to potentially make a decision far quicker then.
If it was Norlam returning, potentially with reinforcements or a force, we hypothesized that that was Norlam's expedition that did not go as well as perhaps he intended, or perhaps it achieved its effect and he destroyed his own people because he didn't need them anymore. Then we might imagine that he has returned to continue his plan or to redo what he had originally intended to do. The obelisk has not been restored to its former power.
No, it has some semblance of power. It was able to reanimate creatures of old. And he'll reference down to the crystal. So it has some semblance of power, but obviously it's not to its full glory yet, and it had some sort of backlash that killed whatever encampment was there.
Have you attempted to make use of this crystal, connect to the power in it, explore what it can do that you have here?
I have not. I'm no magician. I am simply a warrior.
Well, I think that
Mika starts coughing.
That?
Mika starts coughing. She's just.
Well, with your permission, I will take possession of it for now. I believe that I can find out a few things about it.
Of course.
You've had a long and difficult journey. We are camped here for the night. I recommend that you get a good sleep. While you do that, I will explore this device.
As
Mika
you wish.
reaches out and just kind of puts a hand on Hawthorne's arm and then a hand on. Whoops, and I just completely spaced Titus. There we go. I almost said Jared. Titus's arm, and then kind of.
Oh my god!
Like, does this like, come here, and says, "We need to camp elsewhere. We can't camp here." It's not safe for us to camp here.
Is it safe anywhere?
It's safer than here.
You don't know,
Norlam.
There is that. However, our current problem is Ketch and his people. And I understand that we could kill all of them. I get that. However, we would lose some of our people, and that is not a good choice. We need to shift to a place, or shift away, or just go further down the road, something, and find a place separated enough that we can really heal and plan. We have to.
What if that's what Ketch wants us to do?
I don't particularly care. We need to plan because we are going to take that bastard down before he takes us down. And for that, we need strategy and this weird thing called healing. I know you've heard of it. I'd like you to try it. And
My
she
body
turns to
can last.
Hawthorne and is basically looking at Hawthorne like,
Hawthorne is uninjured. I can still take several blows.
she's ignoring you. Hawthorne, you're the rational one.
What? I'm not in control of Titus.
Not in control of Titus. No, but
Titus respects Hawthorne's opinion, though.
but you're a warrior. You're sensible. You're strategic. What do you think?
Well, I don't know how the extent of Titus's rebirth works, but it may not be unadvantageous for Titus to be on the precipice, unless all of his foes already are aware of his returning. Presumably Noralam would understand.
Noralam is one of the first that has bested me in combat.
Although if Ketch is not aware, it could serve as a rather unpleasant surprise for him.
Okay, do we want to discuss this? And like, this is now Jared. Like, are we still in the tent with it, or did we at least move
Oh
away?
no, I
I'm gonna
moved you away. No, I moved you away.
Okay, good.
Because I'm
Good. Now,
very
before we-
specific
Kyneth,
about-
Kyneth, kill him!
Yeah.
You took your crystal.
If
You've
we-
moved away. Maybe you're going off to get some, to get some food.
if we really wanted to play this out, Titus could go and die. Basically, challenge Ketch to one-on-one and let him win. And now Titus is dead.
Actually, I like that.
Until Titus comes
Right.
back.
Well, but does anyone outside of this group?
I don't know if
No.
Ketch. I don't know if Ketch knows. I mean, I hard to say. I mean, I think we said Ketch and Hawthorne and Titus, or Titus and Hawthorne both have learned from Ketch at some point. I don't know if Ketch
Mhm.
knows Titus is essentially immortal.
This
Right.
only works if Ketch
Once.
doesn't know. Well, it only works once, and it only works if Ketch doesn't know, and it only works if Kyneth doesn't know. Are we certain?
Why does
that he
Kyneth not
knows
have to know?
Well, 'cause
Kyneth
she
would
could
tell
also be-
Ketch. You can't trust my half sister. I don't know why you two don't understand that.
Oh, right.
Why would I trust her? She's
Oh, if she knows about your gift, then this is all for naught.
I don't think Titus has gone around going, by the way, I can't. Or even if Titus has, I mean,
Yeah, it's just bolstering for
Yeah,
a
like-
warrior.
Oh, but is
Especially
there-
I'm
notice-
unkillable.
I
Yeah,
guess
of course
this
you
is-
are.
I guess this is sort of a DM question. Is there anyone in the party that would have had history in which they knew Titus's,
Condition.
So
condition? Yeah, there we go. I like that.
yeah. So how much of a legend is Titus? How much connection has he had to the Vergences? How much has this been a thing that's happened in sight of the bloodlines, or has it been something that's just kind of happened off in the Umbra? You've died one or more times, found yourself coming back at some point.
Are you the Dread Pirate Roberts or not?
I feel like just because,
I'd let you
especially,
decide, Jared, whether
Ex-
that's a thing that's generally known or is a big secret.
I think it's a little bit of a. I mean, there might be rumors that he's, like super, because he clearly hasn't died and all that. But especially looking at his NPC contact, I don't think I've chosen anyone that's from a bloodline or something like that. So I
Yep.
think, especially between that and he learned kind of the greater realm of Vergences from Mika.
Yep.
It might be actually relatively unknown.
I'll go with that. That's totally fine.
So yeah, I mean, he's been busy fighting gods. He hasn't had stooped down to Vergences. Okay, this is whatever. Okay, silly little politics.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
Hawthorne, if we position our camp away enough and set it up so that we can see somebody coming and Catch decides to take advantage of that, then we trigger the challenge to the death, and then oh my god, you killed him, and then we,
Counter
pull ourselves together.
idea. Counter idea.
Yep.
If we want to make Ketch think we're on his side before we move away,
We kill Titus
Titus
for him.
fights Ketch. Yeah, essentially, Titus challenges Ketch. Looks like he might even be, doing pretty well. Hawthorne blows his brains out. Or blows my brains out as I'm Titus.
Having been one of the people who's killed you in the past, I gotta say it's very satisfying.
I would also point out that Titus doesn't absolutely know he will always come back.
He doesn't, but
Maybe he assumes it.
he's kind of assumes it.
There's a desperate
yeah,
consequence. Slaying doesn't work. Oh, what?
There we
What?
go.
What?
Roll up a new character.
Well, that would be an interesting devil's bargain.
Oh,
Well, time for my new character.
your character's name is Bunny.
My name is Midas, the second no. I kind of like the idea, but I'm curious how you guys feel about it.
I actually like the idea of having.
I think winning over Ketch is a better plan.
Well,
And
that's
I've
why it's
already told Ketch that killing Titus is something I would do. Like, if Titus
Well,
needs
that's what
to
I
be
was
stopped.
thinking is if it make it look like Titus is out of the picture, and then we win over Ketch, and then Titus is just kind of secretly not around anymore.
Yeah. And then we kill Ketch.
The kind of end of session. So.
Oh no, we got 3 minutes. We can do this.
We can do this in 3 minutes. Okay, ready? Tight it.
Ready? Go.
Well, I mean, you can certainly play out your interesting plan, and we could jump into an engagement roll at the beginning of the next session if you want to play it that way.
I think this might be a full engagement kind of thing, actually.
Right. But
I like the idea of Hawthorne basically doing the "I am sick of your shenanigans," boom, or spear in the back of the neck, or whatever it is, and then I can lean full into the whole "you killed him," and we drag his body off. And,
Yep. Well, let's say that you can do that next session. It seems like you're about to go into a rest phase. So if you wanted to assume that, then we can say that you've pulled your troops aside. It's perfect. You can have a very good rationale for why you would do that, and make camp some distance away from the main encampment. You can take a rest phase, which means that you would restore, in this case, 6 stress because you took that rest and recover extra ability. And we can jump.
Travis for the great idea.
Yeah, that's an interesting, clever one. I would not have thought of that, but yeah. We can jump to milestones.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, did you confront a significant challenge or discover something important that was previously unknown, or both? Or
For
did
sure,
you spend
I mean,
your thumbs the whole time?
No such thing as a significant challenge, unfortunately, for Titus. So we can't do that one. But I feel like we
Except for
discovered
maybe
something.
Norla.
You are such a frat boy, I swear. That was Titus, not you.
Frat boy that fights gods. I mean,
yeah, well, frat boys would. They could.
fair. I definitely think we for sure discovered something important. And Titan seems like a significant challenge. And a god. And Ketch, in a different way in the entire political situation.
A different way, yeah. Things are proceeding interestingly. So that's another milestone and another upgrade point. That brings you up to 2 upgrade points since you had 1 save from before. You can decide to either spend that now or save those. Your choice.
Do we want to get void stones? Or
I think
interdimensional
void
soul
stones are useless, pointless for us.
Fair.
With Hawthorne's power, I think it's probably less of a thing than it is in most games.
It is.
Well, we're
less
also
than-
like at a destination. We're not like roaming all over and like
that's
splitting the
fair.
party.
Fair. Okay.
Like we've played where we're at like 3 different Vergences simultaneously, all doing our own thing. Like the void stones are
Okay.
not as relevant right now.
Yeah.
You're all in the same dimension.
Interdimensional cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
So
Okay.
save them or spend them. What's the
I would say save it for now.
Yeah. Let's
There's
save.
nothing we're trying to spend it on, and if there's something you're interested in, if you want to look at that, like bring it up when it's relevant, because
Yep.
we don't need to take aggressive now until we're doing an assault plant. Like
Yeah, you could always just decide to take that in a moment.
discover it in play.
I mean, we could increase our contingent to quality too if we wanted to really
Yep.
just.
Yeah, we train them while Catch isn't looking.
Okay,
Heck
cool.
yeah.
All right, let's do stars and wishes. Just to review wishes from last time, I had written them down. Spike gets a body. That hasn't happened. Demon worm in Titus makes an appearance. That hasn't happened as far as you know. The previous edition becomes a thing. Yes, and Hawthorne acquires an ability locally that hasn't happened yet. If you wanted to pursue that in terms of that stone or some other interesting thing, then we can certainly talk about that as we go forward. So all of those are still potentially on the table. Let's see. In terms of stars and wishes, I'll go with a star of I really like how the expedition strife and politics is playing out. We'll see how that goes, but that has been fun. Any specific stars of something cool that happened or something that somebody did in this game or a choice that was made?
I definitely like the strife slowly building.
It's very inter-party this time, though. Like,
Yeah.
there's very like Titus versus Mika, Titus versus Hawthorne. Like
Titus versus Titus. It's
yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not out to kill Mika, but like
What?
the inner party conflict of I don't need to tell Mika secrets that are going to just make her upset. I mean, like there's problems between everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I really actually appreciate how much you lean into playing Hawthorne the way Hawthorne is written, which is I love that. I love the whole I'm not supporting this. I am not giving you a boost because what you're doing is freaking stupid. And I love that because it's like, yeah, that's how it should be played out.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. I appreciate that. That makes the whole thing fun, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm liking this a lot. I'm very much enjoying just having a character that, you know, spent so much time having things go her way that she doesn't really realize that's not how the world works.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting when she finds out.
Yes, there could be quite a shock there.
Oh yeah.
Any wishes that anybody wants to add to the ones from last time, or is that good?
I want to see Hawthorne's powers. Hawthorne's been very, very quiet and subtle, and like I'm just here.
I mean, I've got
one bust out.
Yeah, I've got. I mean, my sharp shot, or like my dead eye, whatever it's called, my one power that was like the premise or like the coolest one, the one I picked immediately. Just hasn't had a ton of opportunity to play. In the scene where our forces were clashing, if Ketch was being antagonistic, I was going to 100% just shoot the weapon out of his hand. and try to put him in his place. But it's fine. It played out a different way, and that's okay. We just haven't had a ton of ways for me to be shooting things very interactively, and that's fine.
Yeah, and interestingly, you've been leaning into crafty things that you do with your character, which I like a lot. But has been your, if you weren't doing that, there were a couple of times when you might have done shooty things instead.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, no, it's fun. I'm glad we're doing it.
Yeah, me too. All right. Unless anybody wants to add other wishes, or is that pretty much good?
Thank you, Replay Crew, for watching. Please leave comments.
Okay.
Share.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, subscribe, do all the things.